Okay, today we're going to work on some more writing to explain. But instead of starting with I really like or I really dislike and then explaining from there, we're going to try our I used to think, next I learned, now I realize structure that we talked about last week. So the topic that I'm going to write about today and that you're also going to write about in your writing journal is explain how to keep a good friend. So I'm going to use I used to think, next I learned, now I realize. So when I brainstorm this, I'm going to start off with I used to think. So when I think about friendship, one of the thoughts that I used to have was that I used to think that it was harder to make a new friend than it was to keep an old friend. So I want you to pause the video, brainstorm something that you could say about what you used to think about keeping a good friend. So pause the video, brainstorm a sentence, and then come back to me. Okay, so the next part that we're going to brainstorm is the next I learned. So you have what you used to think about something, then something probably happened to maybe change your thinking. So I put, next I learned that it can sometimes be very difficult to stay friends with someone, especially as you get older. So maybe I'm going to talk about an experience that I had here, recognizing that as I got older, it was hard to keep friends for a long time. So I'll want to talk about that in that section. So I want you to brainstorm something that you could say about next I learned. So go ahead, pause the video, figure out something that you can say for this next I learned, and then come back to me when you have that. Okay, the last one, now I realize. So when I look back at my experience about trying to stay friends with someone, especially as I get older, I realized something. So now I realize that sometimes it takes a lot of effort to make sure you stay friends with someone for a long time. So when I write my paper, I'm going to actually talk more about that and describe that a little bit more. But I have my 3 main ideas that I've brainstormed, and I'm going to use these to start each section of my paper. So I'll start down here. I'm starting my paragraph, so I made sure to indent. So I have that little space right here. That's my indent, okay? So I take my I used to learn sentence, and I said I used to think that it was harder to make a new friend than it was to keep an old friend. After all, your old friends already know who you are and what you are like, so they should understand when you have a bad day or get upset about something. So that's my used to think, okay? So I have a whole paragraph about that. Next, I want to take my next I learned. So I'm going to go down to my next line, going to indent again, and I said, next I learned that just because you have known someone for a long time doesn't mean they will always let you get away with something. So I need to fix that. I want to say with right there, changing that. Notice that my next I learned sentence is not the same as this next I learned down here. I decided as I was writing that I didn't really want to use the sentence I came up with up here. I thought that this one would be better. And that's okay. You can make changes like that as you go through your writing. If something sounds better and you feel like it needs to be changed, change it. That's why pencils have erasers. You can change what you're writing as you go. If something sounds better to you later, change it, okay? So I'm talking about my next I learned part. So next I learned that just because you've known someone for a long time doesn't mean they will always let you get away with something. It still hurts your very best friend's feelings when you get mad at them, make fun of them, or ignore them. So I listed 3 things there. I pitchforked my sentence. I remember a time I said something hurtful to my best friend, and I thought it was okay because I figured they would know that I was just having a bad day. I was wrong. So I'm thinking back to a memory and describing it. So that's kind of like bada binging my sentence. I'm thinking back to what I thought, especially when that was going on. Okay, so I'm remembering something and what I thought when it was happening. My words really hurt this person, and it took a long time for them to forgive me. I don't ever want that to happen again. Okay, so this whole section here, whoops, that whole section there talks about what I learned. Now I want to wrap it up with my now I realize. So after that experience that I just talked about, what did I learn? What did I realize? So I indent it again because I've moved to a new paragraph. Now I realize that sometimes it takes a lot of effort to make sure you stay friends with someone for a long time. You always have to think about their feelings and remember that they became your friend for a reason. It's important to value them and make sure they know that you care about them. Friendship is a lot of work, but it is definitely worth it. So there you go. There is my I used to think, next I learned, now I realize. So I want you to work on that for your own paper. So you're writing and explaining how to keep a good friend. Try using that with the I used to think, next I learned, now I realize structure. Remember to start a new paragraph and indent every time you move on to a new section. Okay, well, good luck.